Hello everyone and welcome to another walkthrough video. In today's video I'm going to walk you through an FCE use of English 2 question and open-close question. So before we do that, let's go through some basics. First of all, read through the text first. Get a good idea of what it's all about. Find out who's involved. Work out what the context is. Basically get a good idea of what's going on. As you're reading through the text, answers might automatically pop into your head, but read through the article first before you start thinking, at least filling in the answers. Also, please remember that you can only put in one word per gap. And contractions count as 2 words, with the exception of cannot. All other contractions count as 2 words. So if you think you're going to be clever by putting in don't, for example, this will count as 2 words do not. Okay, let's have a look through the exercise and see what these answers are. Some say you can do it in 7 days, others promise success in 24 hours, or you may prefer to take time and do it in 5 weeks. I know it's the example, but let's look through it. Anyhow, this basically is saying that you want to go at your own speed. And so we're looking for the correct word to complete the expression, and we've got 2 options as highlighted here in the example, to take your time or to take more time. Both of them perfectly good, and if you're not familiar with that expression, then it's worth remembering because it's a nice expression. You can use it in your writing, for example, and it shows slightly advanced or more advanced vocabulary skills. Okay, let's get back to our exercise and start filling in these answers. What are we talking about? Here we have an expression. Simple as that. If you know the vocabulary for this expression, then you're going to get the answer right. If you don't know what the vocabulary is, well, now you know what the expression is. And the expression is believe it or not. Let's check our answer, and we're correct. So believe it or not. Nice expression. Believe it or not, these periods, time, refer to language learning courses that promise excellent results. ... What do we need here for number 2? I'm going to scroll up. You'll see the answers above my head. What we need here is a preposition. These periods, what's the preposition? You have periods of time. Periods of time refer to language learning courses that promise excellent results in less time it takes to say bonjour. Now what we've got here is a comparative form. Less time, and as you know, adjectives come in 3 different forms. You have the basic adjective, then you have the comparative, then you have the superlative. In this case, we've got a comparative adjective, which means that we're comparing it against something, which means that we need a comparative form which goes in this gap, and the comparative form is than, with an A, not with an E. So in less time than it takes to say bonjour. However, then advertisements of these companies are not necessarily the best guide, and if you don't know what to look for in a good course, you could be left with little something than a large bill. What is this trying to say? This is basically saying that if you don't make a good choice, the only thing you're going to have is a large bill to pay for the course. So what we need here is an expression, a word. Let me just move that above my head. What we need here is a word that expresses exactly that sentiment. Now, the only thing that you're going to have is a large bill. Now, if you're not familiar with this expression, then learn it now. And the answer that we're looking for here is more. You could be left with little more than a large bill. A complaint was recently made to Consumer Rights Group against WizLearn Systems, a language school chain, and the company has been forced to remove its claim that its technique is 10 times better than any something method. So once again, we've got a comparative form here, or we need vocabulary of comparison. So we need to compare this system against... I'm trying to explain this in a way without giving you the answer straight away. Compare this system in light of, it's a terrible expression, in light of the other systems which are on the market. And we've got 2 possible options here. The one that I would prefer would be, it's not a question of preferring. The one that I chose would be other. Any other method. But as you can see here, we've got another option that we can choose, which is similar. Both of them absolutely fine. The managing director of WizLearn System said, and then the quotation begins, and this is important, something we still believe our claim is true, we are willing to change our advert. And we're just going to concentrate on this part. I think we're missing the... Oh no, we're not. The quotation finishes down here. Sorry, I thought we were missing the quotation marks to close the quote. But the quotation finishes down here. So let's concentrate on this part of the sentence. What we've got here is a sentence made up of two clauses, and we can see these clauses here. There's one clause which is this part here, and we've got one part of the clause and one other clause which is this part here. So we've got two clauses which make up our sentence. In this case, and you're familiar with the idea of two clauses in a sentence. If you know conditional forms are made up of two clauses, the conditional clause and the main clause. We don't have a conditional here, but what we do have is a subordinate clause, which is this part here, and the main clause here. Now, subordinate clauses and main clauses fulfill functions, and the function that we're trying to fulfill here is one of contrast. Here it's saying we will change our advert, but in the subordinate clause what it's saying here is we still stand by our claim. We still think what we said is true. So we've got a contrast there. We still think what we said is true, but we'll change it. So we need, in this case, in this gap here, what we need is the appropriate subordinate conjunction. The appropriate subordinate conjunction. And if you're not familiar with subordinate conjunctions, I'm sure you use them. You might not be familiar with what they are, however. Go to Google, type in subordinate conjunctions, and find out what they are. But basically, we're left with, we have a choice of three possible subordinate conjunctions. My favourite, which is slightly Old English, is whilst, but you have got three options available to you. Although, while, whilst, all of them are correct subordinate conjunctions which suggest contrast. Okay, so we've just had a look at question number 6 and the issue about the subordinate conjunction. We also have to pay particular attention to 7 and 8, but we have to bear in mind the whole context which I've highlighted here. Let me just scroll up or move up the screen so you can see everything that I'm talking about. There we go, let's pop that up there. And this is important because number 7 is really difficult if you're not fully aware of the context of what's going on. So let's read through it. But the fact remains, if you spend 3 hours per day for 5 weeks on our language course, you will soon be speaking the language. Now, the reason why they're saying this is because they're defending their claim. And their claim is that their technique is 10 times better than any other method. And they're defending their claim because they say, if you go back to number 6, we still believe our claim to be true. So they're not saying that their claim is wrong. What they're saying is their claim is true, but what might have happened, or what could they have done in order to make the advert a little bit better? And that is what we're getting at here with questions 7 and 8. And indeed, that's the answer for question number 7. What we could have done. What we've got here is a modal in the past. We've got a modal plus perfect form. What we could have done, what we should have done. You won't see me typing behind my head, so I'll just show you the answers up here. What we should have done, what we could have done, was to make something, whatever this is, something clearer in the advert. Now, this something has got to refer to this process here. Spending 3 hours per day, 3 hours per day for 5 weeks on our language course. So we need a word of substitution to replace all of these things. Now, if you're not familiar with what substitution is in English grammar, once again, get onto Google, type in substitution, find out what it's all about. You use substitution already, so it is something that you know. Perhaps you don't know the reasons why you use substitution, but nevertheless, it is something that you already know. And that becomes clear when you have a look at what the answer is, because the one word that replaces all of this information is it, or this, or things. I prefer it, but you can say this or things as well. And all of these words are substitutive forms for this highlighted passage here. Now, 7 and 8 were difficult questions. There's no getting away with it. For FCE level, if you're dealing with substitution and modal verbs in the gap, this is tough stuff, which only goes to show that you have to have a good understanding of the context of the article in order to get the answers right. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. If you've got any questions at all about the exercise, if you agree or disagree with my answers and my explanations, please let me know. Write a comment in the comment below. And please check out my YouTube channel for all of the other FCE and CAE exam question walkthroughs that I do. And please remember, if you're studying from the Gold series, so Gold First or Gold Advanced, the Ready For series, Ready For First, Ready For Advanced, or the Expert series, First Expert or Advanced Expert, check out my website, cramtheexam.com, where you've got all of the videos, or lots and lots of videos for all of the exam questions in those course books. Okay, I'll see you again soon.